And I'm going to pull up my Facebook here. And it says we're live. I'm looking on Facebook. I'm going to look and see if I'm here live. That's what I always do.
You're live.
I'm live?
Yeah,
okay, Marzi says I'm live. So would you find me here, please? Well, we're live. Hello. It's Tuesday. It's Facebook Live. It's 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern, 1 a.m. here in Italy, and 8:30 a.m. Wednesday morning in Australia. So hello, everyone. It's nice to be with you again. And we have a very special guest today, my friend, Dr. Rachel Fresco, who is the founder of the company Biobotanicals. And I have been using biobotanical products for almost 30 years now. 30 years. We'll talk a lot about them here, and they are my go-to products, and we'll talk about the conditions that are good for it. But first, let me say hello. Hello, Dr. Rachel. It's nice to see you again.
Hi, Tom. I'm so happy to be on, and hi to everybody who's listening.
Yes. So there's only one thing that I travel with. I make sure I always travel with wherever I go, and it's Biobotanicals Biocidin spray. So can we start there with Biocidin spray?
So this is the Biocidin throat spray, and basically it's the same formula as our regular Biocidin, but it's been cut a little bit more with alcohol so that it'll spray. And we did a double-blind placebo-controlled trial with the University of Louisiana on this formula, and it raised immune response by 66% with one dose. So
wow.
These were immune-compromised athletes that, as you know, like marathon runners and NFL players, they work out so hard, their immune system gets suppressed, and then they get susceptible to getting sick, especially when they're on the road traveling at games and events and competitions. So using the throat spray, it raises their immune strength as well as helps fight any particular viruses or bacteria or things. And we've had many doctors over the years tell us how efficacious this is. I can't tell you how many times I've been at a conference, walking down the hall, and some doctor will pull it out of his pocket and go, "Never travel without Biocidin throat spray."
Here's my spray.
It's a go-to thing, because if you just get the smallest niggle right in your throat, you feel like you're gonna, or a little bit of postnasal drip in the middle of the night, and you reach over to your bedside table and you just spray it a few times.
That's
and
right.
You wake up the next morning, it's like gone.
You're fine, right? Every time I get on a plane, every time I sit down in my seat and my roller bag, I open the zipper pocket and grab this and just give myself a couple of pumps. And if it's a longer flight, and if I hear anybody coughing around me, I just do another hit. And every time I fly, and it's been a
it's a great one.
And
it's inexpensive. It's easy to use. I think everybody should keep this in their briefcase or purse, especially during cold and flu season, or when traveling, or in the medicine cabinet. A lot of parents have told me that they will hit their kids on their way out of the house in the morning, on the way to school, and then when they come home, first thing when they walk in the door, to stop bringing things home from school. And people have reported a lot less incidents of people getting affected at home that way, which is a big problem, for people who are teachers or school children.
It is. Let me take a moment in here to say hello from Jocelyn's in Santa Clara, Karen's in Maine. I'm going to go up to the top and see who got here first. Mary Agnes was the first one on. Hey, MA, nice to see you.
Hi, Mary Agnes.
You and Rachel were sitting with Dave Asprey last week, and Pedram came walking up, and she's just telling me the story.
That's right.
Yes, that's really great. And Claudine's here from Carlisle, Pennsylvania. And Claudine says, "Hi, Dr. Tom and Dr. Rachel." Tracy's South Carolina.
Hi, Claudine.
We've got Lynn in South Australia. Steph is here. Love your show. Hi, Dr. Tom. This is a show, isn't it? It really is a show. This is my show. I never thought I had a show, but I've got a show. That's really great. Nadina is here from I try to get this every week, and Nadina, I messed it up. Wollongong, Australia. Wollongong. So thank you very much for being here. Mia's in North Wales, Luann's in Aurora, Colorado, and the list goes on and on. And Mary Agnes says, Dr. Rachel is one of our heroes. Yes, she is.
Aw,
yes, she is.
And, thank you.
Claudine says, I love Dentalcide. We'll get to that. But let's
Thank you.
Let's stay with the Biocidin spray for a moment. And I remember when we first met and you told me the story of how you came up with this formula and just how magical this formula is. And, you know, I'm not exaggerating, folks. This is the go-to that I have recommended to patients for almost 30 years is these products. And the first one is the spray. So can you tell us a little about the background on the spray and about the Biocidin products?
Right. So it started out with the original Biocidin liquid, which is our full strength Biocidin. And this is a one that for GI, and you can mix this and put it in an neti pot or nasal wash, and you can pretty much apply this to any orifice, and on the skin and internally.
Ear infections.
Yeah, so parents will put like one drop, and on the outer ear, really helpful. And the reason that I came up with this formula was I was working in veterinary acupuncture, and we were treating these cattle and dogs with these incurable infections that Western medicine didn't have anything for, but these herb formulas seemed to be really making a difference. Meanwhile, fast forwarded to where I worked at a Chinese herb company, and doctors are calling with patients with opportunistic infections with the same issue, that the antibiotics were resistant or they weren't working. And so we sent some of this herb formula to these doctors to try out, and they were getting good results. And then one of those doctors sent it to Great Smoky's Diagnostic Labs, which is now Genova Diagnostics. And they run thousands and thousands of comprehensive digestive stool analyses, and they're looking at yeast and bacteria that are showing up in people's guts. And so the owner of the lab calls me up, and it was it's kind of a scary conversation. This guy's like, I don't know who you are or what this is, but it kills everything. I'm like, well, is that good? And he's like, well, yeah, it's good. We want to put it on our panel. I'm like, well, what's a panel, And he explained about the CDSA, and I'm like, well, sure, you just go right ahead, put it on there. I don't care. He goes, well, what do you call it? And I said, well, I call it bioradiance. And he's like, that sounds too new age. Call it something else. So, I thought about it, and then the next day I called it back, and I'm like, well, how about Biocidin? It sounds like it's killing something. He's like, perfect. So that's how Biocidin was born. And so then like 30,000 doctors a month were hearing about this on this test, and they did over 250,000 patient tests over a 6-year period, and it was the most highly sensitive agent every single time on every single yeast and bacteria. And so many doctors were like, well, why should we use these antifungal and antibiotic things if there's an alternative that's natural, that's non-toxic, that doesn't wipe out your good flora? So that's how Biocidin kind of got its claim to fame. And then from there, people like, you heard about it, right? And then we realized that there were so many more applications for it. So like you could cut this, make it a thread spray, right? You could put it in a liposomal, and now it's going straight into the bloodstream. So that could be really helpful in certain kinds of things where people are looking for nutritional support for Lyme disease or something that's outside the gut. And then, of course, we decided to put it in a toothpaste. Let
me stay with the original first and the story about Great Smoky's lab. Now, what they did for everyone listening, they did what's called a sensitivity profile. So as a doctor, I'd have my patient collect a stool sample. We'd send the stool sample into the lab. And what the lab does was that they take the stool sample and they put samples in a number of different Petri dishes. And they put the patient's name on the Petri dish, and then they look to see what grows in the Petri dish over 5 days. So is it yeast that grow, or are there certain bacterial colonies that develop? And so there'd be 10, maybe 12 different Petri dishes on the shelf at the lab with my patient's name on them. Once the colony grows, then they would expose it to a number of different things that they had there, like antifungals or antibacterials. And they tried this thing, Biocidin, and it killed everything. It worked all the time. The test results would come back, and there'd be a sensitivity profile with antibiotics and antifungals and some straight herbs, and then this thing called Biocidin. And Biocidin worked maybe, I don't know, I guess 90+% of the time. 9 out of 10 times, It was the most effective thing for every bacteria or fungus that the patient's stool sample grew in these Petri dishes. That it was so successful. And I know, Rachel, you know the story really well. It was so successful that other companies contacted the lab and said, we want you to use our product and test it in there. And the lab said, we can't, there's no more room. We've got a list of products we're using. And well, this product, Biocidin, is a combination product. It's not just a straight herb. And if you don't try our combination product, we're going to sue you. And as a result of that, the lab had to stop using Biocidin as one of the potential agents killing bacteria and killing yeast. But for years, Biocidin was the top product that worked 9 out of 10 or more, maybe 9.5 out of 10. I don't know, but it was the go-to.
They told me it was 100%. I mean, the owner of the lab said it was 100% the strongest every time, and equally effective to the other, drug type therapies. Of course, it's a nutritional supplement, so you can't make medical claims for it. But it was very effective, but the real proof in the pudding was in the patients, like how they reacted. Because you would have people who had had chronic fatigue or chronic digestive problems, and within 3 weeks they were feeling like better than they had felt in years, and within 2 months they felt like they were had their lives back. And some of these people were severely debilitated, and they would write letters to us. So that really encouraged me, because I didn't come out at this as like, I want to start a company or have a business. I was a practitioner. I wanted to just get people better. So I was very excited that we were getting such good results. And then thinking about the big picture of like the gut, like what else do you need to do? If you're breaking the biofilms, and you're killing the pathogens, and then you need to pull out these toxins, and you need to reestablish the flora. There's a lot of things that you want to do at the same time to have a complete program for people. So that's what I focused on, was creating a small but complete program to really help people for the long term.
There's a question that's come in. It's a nice question from Luann Fleming. She said, I used Biocidin broad spectrum liquid formula for Candida 3 times a day, 6 drops a day. My legs started to bruise. My doctor told me to stop using it. My legs cleared up. Could it be from the white willow bark? Same issues with aspirin. Does this mean I can't use these products?
That's an interesting question. There's such a small amount of white willow in there. It's like 1/10 of 1% or some ridiculously small amount. And at only 6 drops a day, you can imagine what a small amount that white willow is. It's really in there almost on a homeopathic basis to help direct the herbs to the microcirculation channels. So it's not there for an aspirin-like effect. It's there more for guidance effect to the channels. But I think anytime you have an adverse reaction to something, you should stop, because you don't know why. Would the benefits outweigh the risks? Let's say you had really bad digestive issues and you could put up with a little bit of bruising, but it was really helping, your SIBO or, your H. pylori problem or whatever it was, it might be worth putting up with a little bit of bruising. But if anybody had any kind of serious reaction that was really uncomfortable, I believe they should discontinue.
Agreed. And Luann, to your question, there may be some similarities in terms of a genetic sensitivity to white willow and aspirin. If you have the same reaction to both, there may be a connection there. So that's, right. And I so rarely have had side effects using these products that, but if you did have one, this product, you're one of the yellow canaries in the coal mine. That it's very rare to have it, but and I agree, if you have a reaction, do stop. So questions are coming in like, does it work for Epstein-Barr? Does it work for IBS? Here's the way I look at this, folks. If you have a bacterial, fungal, or viral infection, this is a go-to product to start with because it works so often. And we've got a handout that we'll put the link in here for you on how to use these products for adults and for children, so that you've got some guidelines of how to start. And what we suggest is you start slow and titrate up with them. But my initial answer is any time that your immune system is being called into action and it needs some help, this is a great go-to product for that.
Yeah, I agree. And we've had, the reports for any of these kinds of complaints have been that the Biocidin has been an excellent support, that the doctors have been very happy with their patients' progress with these things. I think that I think all of us have a lot more impact from viruses and bacteria and funguses now than we used to. Tom, do you agree that between the EMFs that we're exposed to from cell phones and other things, that something about our cell permeability or is different? And Dr. Klinghardt talks about this, like how in the presence of certain types of RF radiation, that bacteria and funguses will grow more.
Yes.
And it just seems like, to me, that people are more susceptible than they used to be, and they may need more support as a maintenance or a couple of times a year to do a little cleanse. Is helpful, I think.
Yes, I agree. With the increased frequency of autoimmune diseases, that just manifests that the immune system trying to protect you is working really hard. And if we can give it some help, then it's possible to not develop that particular autoimmune disease that you're sensitive to. And yes, there are more infections, more illness than ever before. And so this brings up an interesting question. Can we lose sensitivity to the effectiveness of Biocidin if we're taking it regularly?
Well, the good news is that we have not seen any resistance develop. In fact, in the research I've done, a lot of the herbs that are in Biocidin shut down what's known as the efflux pump mechanism. And that's the mechanism that causes antibiotic resistance. So the fact that the herbs in the formula are stopping this type of resistance mechanism means that typically you're not getting any kind of resistance to them. We've had children on the autistic spectrum typically have a lot of problems with yeast and bacterial in their gut, and they will take this on a maintenance level. People who are immune compromised certainly can take it through the winter. I've had people tell me, I just take this through the whole winter, a little bit a day. So I think that it's good to have on hand and use. Somebody asked here if it was similar to colloidal silver, and yes, in some ways it is, although it's broader acting than colloidal silver. And in the sensitivity cultures we've done in universities, it's about twice as effective in terms of the killing zone that you see in the Petri dish than any other colloidal silver. I tried 5 or 6 different colloidal silvers that are on the market, double-blinded against Biocidin, so nobody knew what was what, put them in the Petri dish, and the Biocidin always performed stronger. I think biofilms are a huge issue, Tom. Don't you think we should talk about that a little bit? Because that's one of the things that causes resistance.
Oh, absolutely. And for those that are not familiar with the term biofilm, bacteria, one of the ways that it protects itself is that it creates this polymer matrix, almost like a hard plastic that covers it. And the National Institute of Health tells us that biofilms in the gut, produced by bacteria in the gut, make it so that antibiotics that should kill that bacteria, a doctor has to use 100 times more potency of antibiotic than what should be necessary to get through the biofilm. Now,
right.
One of the great things about Biocidin is that it helps to reduce the biofilm. And Dr. Rachel, can you talk about that for a minute?
Right. So before I understood about biofilms, what I did know was that Biocidin was working in resistant infections like chronic sinusitis, chronic UTIs for women, things like that we know have some type of resistance to getting treated, children's ear infections. Sinus infections is one of the bigger ones. And so when we did a study with the University of Binghamton, we looked at different bacteria like Pseudomonas and E. coli and staph, and we looked at funguses like Candida, and we looked at biofilm colonies of those, whether alone as one single organism or in a mix with lots of different yeast and bacteria. And what we saw was that the Biocidin not only broke the biofilm, but was able to eliminate those pathogens within 24 hours. And of course, this is in a Petri dish, but even cultured out for 28 days, the growth would not recur. So fast forward a few years, and we did a big research project on Lyme. And because Lyme is also one that develops a biofilm, and the exact same death curve was seen in the Lyme biofilm study as was seen by the University of Binghamton. So you have two independent universities showing the exact same result. And there are very few things out there that work on biofilms this way. Certain enzymes help with biofilms, but don't kill the pathogens too. Essential oils can be very good, but you have to be careful because they're so strong. You can't just, be taking essential oils internally without the right dose and guidance. So they're too concentrated. So I think the Biocidin is nice because the mix of herbs is balanced. You don't kill off the good bacteria. You're affecting the bio. You're broad enough to be kind of going after whatever happens to be there.
A question came in from Courtney. Do you experience die-off with this product?
Of course. Anytime you're killing things off, you're going to have die-off. That's why we titrate really slowly, and that's why I recommend anyone on the Biocidin who has any long-term history of a problem use GI Detox Plus. I put this formula together specifically to bind and mop up the toxins as you're killing things off. So you've got those biofilm components called lipopolysaccharide or LPS. You've got the pathogens themselves breaking up, and you need to pull all that out so it doesn't get reabsorbed and processed through your bloodstream. Once those things get reabsorbed, you get headache, you get tired, you get dizzy, you get nauseous. But if you can get those out and kind of sequester them and mop them up and pull them out, you don't feel bad. And so I recommend everyone who takes the Biocidin like an hour later on an empty stomach, away from other food and supplements and medications, use this as a binder. And we've added a little bit of things to help the gut motility as well, like aloe vera, and then the zeolite and charcoal are kind of binding. MMFT silica helps pick up heavy metals as well, as does humic fulvic acid. And there's some research that's showing that some of these agents even can pick up things like glyphosate. So if you're wanting to clean up your diet or do a cleanse or whatever, or you just ate food that you think the quality of wasn't so great, you went out to eat and it's like, oh, what kind of oil did they use in that dish, Yeah, this is the one that I go for. This is the one that we use for mycotoxin and mold clearance because, again, it's binding those mycotoxins. So I basically, since we got this product on board, we almost have no die-off issues.
And folks, if you've been here before at Facebook Live, you've heard me talk about GI Detox and that Marzi and I, we take it most every night just before going to sleep, just to be on the safe side. So what this is, it's a big sponge. The charcoal and the clays act like a sponge in your gut to soak up toxins and escort them out. So anytime you take Biocidin, there's two things that I always talk to people about that you make sure you do. One, you drink a ½ ounce of water per pound body weight. You have to have enough liquid to get the toxic bacteria and yeast and fungi out of there. Because if you don't have enough water to do it, you're not going to escort it out. These things will accumulate in your body, and that contributes to die-off. And two is get GI Detox. Marzi will put the link in here for GI Detox. And anytime you take Biocidin, if you're actually working because you got a cold or you got a flu or you feel lousy or something, you take GI Detox, as Rachel said, an hour after taking the Biocidin, but away from food. So you're not absorbing food, you're not absorbing vitamins on an empty stomach, and that's why we take it at night. Always helps, always.
Yeah, I think that's a good time to do it. I think that. And then the other thing that I'm really excited about, have you been working with the ProFlora 4R?
Yes, please talk about that.
So we knew we wanted to have a spore-based probiotic because the spores have so many advantages over other types of probiotics. They can be used by people with small intestinal bacterial growth. They don't require refrigeration. They don't get affected by your stomach acid. Biocidin can't kill them. So you could take this basically at any time. But in addition to the pharmaceutical grade spores that we were able to get, thank you to Microbiome Labs, we added a pharmaceutical grade quercetin. And I think that's what makes the difference in this formula. The research shows 100 milligrams of quercetin is enough to seal what's called the tight junctions that cause leaky gut. But this is 170 times more powerful than regular quercetin. And so it's got a really strong anti-inflammatory activity. It's good for any kind of histamine response. If you have just regular allergies, what I've noticed is since I've been taking one a day of this, zero hay fever. And I used to always get hay fever when the grasses went to seed, not anymore. And it's got marshmallow and aloe too for a little bit of support for motility. So I think this is the third thing. And that's why the three things we have in our little kit for GI cleansing, like a quick GI cleanse kit, is these three things. You take the Biocidin, the GI detox, and then the ProFlora. Those three things are pretty much all you need to do a complete cleanse.
Just marvelous. And doctors have known for years that quercetin is the go-to product for hay fever because it helps with the histamine reaction that people have with hay fever. And the quercetin in this product, did you say it's 100 times stronger?
170 times more absorbable.
Wow, that's marvelous.
So we're the only company that has this pharmaceutical grade quercetin. And when I had the manufacturer add it to the formula, they actually called me up and were like, Rachel, are you aware that the quercetin you picked out is 3 times the cost of what normal quercetin is that we use in supplements? I'm like, I don't care. Look at how much more effective it's going to be.
Right.
Put
Right.
it in there.
Way to go. Way to go.
Like,
way to go. That's really great.
Expediency for me is higher than profit margins. And, I can do that because I'm the sole shareholder of this company. I'm not beholden to, venture capitalists or whoever.
Right.
I can do whatever I want with my products, and I want them to be the best.
That's really great. There's Mia has a question. Can we purchase this in the UK? And it brings up a really good question about the name and what happens in Europe with the name Biocidin.
So Biocidin, we have a distributor in the Netherlands at prosupplements.nl, and that's Dr. Jeroen Haas, and he ships to the UK. There's also a company in Ireland that is carrying it as well. So I think if you do a search, but the problem is that way back when, Tom, way back when in the early 90s, when Genova was recommending Biocidin, another company decided to call a grapefruit seed extract product Biocidin, and I hadn't trademarked the name in Europe yet. So it's confusing because if you look up Biocidin, you might see this grapefruit seed extract product from BioCare, but that's not our Biocidin because our Biocidin has like 17 herb ingredients in it, and it's in a blue bottle with this label. It's not grapefruit seed extract. By the way, I did study grapefruit extract just like I did colloidal silver because inquiring minds want to know, right? What's working, and I got like 5 different grapefruit seed extract companies' products, both professional and over-the-counter ones. Sent them to a lab. And the same thing, some of them were about half as effective as Biocidin. Some of them weren't effective at all. And some of them actually grew Pseudomonas.
Wow.
So I'm like, great, it's really not good. So just look for our label. And if you go to prosupplements.nl, Dr. Haas can ship to the UK. And then I'm trying to remember the name, Stephen Watton in Ireland. I can't remember what his website is off the top of my head. But you'll know by looking at the label.
So I do want to give a shout out to grapefruit seed extract. It is an excellent product in general. It was one of the herbs that was used in the sensitivity profiles at Great Smokies and would sometimes come back as being effective in killing off one of the parasites or a different parasite or a different yeast. And sometimes it would be the go-to by itself for that particular yeast. But Biocidin would do it for that same yeast. It would do it for this bacteria, do it for this bacteria. So if a person had 3 or 4 different things, Biocidin is always the one that would get it. They got all of them, not just 1 out of the 3 or 1 out of the 4 that a patient may have. So,
right.
So sometimes, grapefruit seed extract may be a good thing in some cases. So, because there are some people out there, some docs that use grapefruit seed extract, so we don't want to diss the herb. But what happened in Europe way back when, as Dr. Rachel is saying, that somebody copycat the name. And that just, that's not good business. I'm sorry, we're not supposed to say that, but that's just not good business. And,
right.
and you're too nice to do that, and there's no need because your product is so successful now in so many parts of the world. But I remember the when this happened, and the problems that it caused for a lot of my patients who were overseas and
Not
being confused by it.
understanding what they needed to get.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I don't think that I mean, we have the patent on the name in the trademark on the name in the US and worldwide in many countries. And they're selling their product on Amazon. And, I could go after them and go, no, you cannot sell your product on Amazon with that name. We have US, rights, but they don't sell that much. And honestly, I think most people who understand Biocidin know what they're looking for with our product.
Well, that's the purpose of this Facebook Live, is so people understand what is Biocidin and where is the product. And that's why Marzi's posting the links here.
And they can get it on your site, theDr.com, right?
Right. Right.
Exactly. So that's a safe place to get it. And so I would do that. Somebody here was asking about the teeth. I think that's a really cool topic. You want to talk about that?
Sure, let's go to it.
So somebody asked, does Biocidin work on biofilms on the teeth? And I am so excited to say that yes, in the studies we have done, we have seen before and after pictures completely wiping out plaque and biofilms. Not only that, but in cavitations of root canals, we've seen the DNA of the bacteria come way down. And I got a video from Barbara Tritz. She's called the Queen of Dental Hygiene. She's a hygienist. She's the keynote speaker at the American Dental Hygienists Association meeting with 6,000 hygienists. She sent me a video this week of a patient of hers with the bacteria in the pocket. They're all jumping around. And then she exposed that pocket to the Biocidin and then took another video, and they are just dead. And she's like, this is awesome because ozone didn't even do this as well. And so she's going to start recommending it to all her patients. So we took the Biocidin, we put it in a toothpaste, which is really great for just a daily toothpaste. You'll notice right away that you just have a lot less buildup of plaque. And you know how usually in the evening, you're like, oh, I need to brush my teeth. There's like fur on my teeth by, evening time. But when you use this in the morning, all of a sudden you're like forgetting to brush your teeth because your teeth still feel clean. So everyone has used this product, has become addicted to it. And we are looking at possibly making this available on a larger scale through something directly for consumers. This line is what we sell to dentists and doctors, but people can still get it.
Marzi and I use the dental side every day. And I've got it in. I've got a canister of it. I can't say a tube. That's not a tube. I've got a canister in my toiletry bag that's in my suitcase. Anytime I travel, it's already there because that's what I use when I'm on the road. Yeah.
And you know who Tom Blue is at IFM, the Institute of Functional Medicine?
Good friend.
Well, he's like obsessed. He's obsessed with dental plaque. And so he decided to start using our products, and he's measuring the amount of plaque in his mouth. And he came back with, oh my God, Rachel, this has eliminated the growth of tartar and plaque in my mouth. So now he has every single people who work with at IFM on the toothpaste. And then we have the liposomal rinse. So what I did with this rinse is we had the liposomal Biocidin, right? So I figured, well, how could we make this better even specifically for the gums? And so I thought we could add more clove, myrrh, we could add quercetin for inflammation, and CoQ10, which is often deficient in gum tissue. So that's what I did. And so after you brush, then you can put like 1 or 2 pumps of this and swish, just kind of oil pull with it. And so if you have a real issue, this is more like a treatment. And I really like this. And now we have a new probiotic rinse coming out called Dentalcidin PR, probiotic rinse. And that's a spore-forming rinse that will be the 3rd part of this program. It should be out next month.
Oh, marvelous, marvelous. That just sounds bad. I've not known of that product. I'm going to try that right away.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. Yeah, we're just getting the samples in probably next week.
Oh, marvelous. Just marvelous.
I've been using it for a couple of months, and I always have to try things out on myself before I, make a decision on them. And I think it's good because even though the Biocidin isn't necessarily killing the good bacteria, because it's pretty selective, right? But people need support for their good bacteria in their mouth and their microbiome. So adding a probiotic rinse, I think, just kind of completes the whole picture, just like we did with the gut product. We're going to do the same thing with the mouth.
What many people don't know Everyone here has heard about the microbiome and how important the bacteria in the gut is to our health overall. That's not a new topic here. But what most people don't know is the microbiome begins in your mouth, and that the bacteria that you have in your mouth can be the trigger to any bacterial complication that you have. It may be coming from the bacteria in your mouth. It may be, and not just what's in the gut, because it starts in the mouth and goes to all the way to the other end. That's where your microbiome is. And our friend, Dr. Pedram Shojai, is going to be doing a summit, and I'm on that summit, Dr. Rachel's on that summit, talking about the oral health. And his wife is a dentist, and they've interviewed a number of professionals for oral health. And that summit will be coming out in a few months, and Dr. Shojai will be here on this show, and we'll talk about that then. Right.
There's been a few questions here that have come up on the feed. Can you use the Dentalcidin on dogs? I use my dog's mouth all the time. The Dentalcidin with that strong clove in there, and it's meant to be spit out, might be a bit much for a dog's, sensitive. They might really object to that and start foaming up and spitting it out. So I'd say let's use the regular liposomal Biocidin if you want to. My take on it, unless you can teach your dog to spit it out.
Well, I've got a question about liposomal, and the concept of liposomal is that it carries whatever it's bonded with right into the tissue. So that's the purpose of liposomes. So I recommend that people use Dentalcidin first to clean up the mouth a little bit, brush your teeth, and then use the liposome so that you don't have a bunch of bad bacteria that's getting escorted in also.
I agree. So I brush my teeth first with the Dentalcidin toothpaste, and then spit. And then you can wait a few minutes, and a little later on, you can take a hit of the probiotic mouthwash.
Right. Let's see, we've got a testimony here from Claudine. Says, I usually have plaque at dental cleanings, but after using Dentalcidin, there was none, ! My dental hygienist asked what I did differently because she had no work to do to clean my teeth. That's a great testimony.
I've heard this like 20 times in the last month, that exact thing. My friend who had gone in to get her cleaning because he thought she went someplace else to get her teeth cleaned because her normal pattern, she'd been going to see him for 20 years back. And after using the Dentalcidin, she had no plaque, and he's like, you went someplace else to get your teeth cleaned. So I think everybody should try it. It's like 6 weeks or something. Check it out.
Right. A shout out to Karen in Maine and Peruse in LA. And Peruse asked, does autoimmunity also benefit from Biocidin? And the answer is yes, of course, because many times it's a bacterial or fungal or viral, maybe not even an infection, but a higher concentration that's triggering the immunity. And remember, Peruse, that sometimes autoimmune diseases are triggered by a bacterial infection. And when your antibodies are produced to fight the bacteria, those antibodies sometimes can go after your own tissue. That's very common with rheumatoid arthritis and multiple sclerosis and lupus. And well, actually, I've shown a case study many times about alopecia, a 44-year-old guy losing his hair, and he had a Heliobacter infection. And when they dealt with the Heliobacter infection, the hair loss stopped and his hair grew back within 6 months or so, a full head of hair again. So Dr. Rachel, let me ask you directly about Heliobacter. Do we have any evidence that Biocidin works with Heliobacter?
have had reports of clearance. You know, again, we can't make medical claims for nutritional supplements. So please, people, you know, we are not claiming that supplement. However, the feedback on doctors prescribing this supplement has been very good, and the doctors are
Right.
if it's working or not. Going back to the autoimmune issue, CC asked the question, will this amp up the immune system studies? So we did 1,000 patients in the Netherlands with GI disturbance. And what we saw was that in patients that the marker for your immune system, if it was suppressed, the number came up to more normal. But if it was elevated, what it appears is that the botanicals help modulate the immune system rather than only amping it up. So it's
right.
Tom was saying, sometimes it's a simple bacteria. Like one woman had 20 years history of rheumatoid arthritis, and she would get these flare-ups periodically. She went into a functional doctor, and that doctor did a stool test and found 4. So she asked me, you know, could she try this? I'm like, sure, you know, let's put you on not only the Biocidin, but we're going to double it up. We're going to because it's also broad spectrum. So we put her on the Biocidin and the Alovirix, the GI Detox, and the Proflora, and I sent her home for 6 weeks. At the end of 6 weeks, she hadn't had any more flare-ups, and she went back to the doctor and she got another stool test, and the Klebsiella was now 0. She never had. I'm like, I think you should do this every 6 months for a couple of years, and then maybe once a year after that, because once you've been susceptible, there's a reason why you're susceptible. Maybe your immune system is busy doing something else. So in her case, it was just one simple thing that made for her condition. It's not always that easy, but sometimes it can be simple.
Kay asked, does GI detox make you constipated? I've never seen that happen with any of my patients. And the one guideline here, Kay, is drink enough water, a ½ ounce per pound body weight. Just make sure that you have enough water so that you're moving, your entire system is flushing. And Jeanette asked,
it's true. And when I reformulated it, I added aloe and leaf, and I added apple pectin to provide a little bit more motility. So water, you know, eat a more moist, you know, eat cucumbers and salad, eat things that are moistening. Don't eat like dry, hard things like chips and crackers. More moistening.
Right. Jeanette asked, will Biocidin kill the probiotics that I'm taking? And the answer is no. No. Dr. Rachel talked about that earlier.
Well, no, that's not true. It won't kill the spore-forming probiotics because those are spore formers and they don't actually your gut. But if you're taking regular Acidophilus and Bifidus, then I would separate it out an hour from Biocidin.
Good to know. Good to know. Thank you for that. Good. Good. Let's see. We've got Gail from Pittsburgh and Mira from Ohio. Tracy's in Phoenix. Liz in South Africa. Maria's in Massachusetts. Natalie's in Brooksville, Florida. Joyce in Portland. Thank you, everyone. It's really great that you're all here. That's really just wonderful. Luann says, I use Biocidin broad spectrum liquid formula for candida. Oh, okay, I read that one already. Sorry about that. Let's talk about the capsules. When do you use the capsules, Dr. Rachel?
Okay, so basically we take the liquid and they put it in a capsule. So cost-wise, you're getting 6 weeks out of this one bottle, and you only get like, so it's more cost-effective to use the liquid if you can use the liquid. But when you're traveling, this is so much easier because it's not a liquid, it's not going to spill. You can pop traveling, the Biocidin capsule is good. Some health professionals will also use this, believe it or not, as a suppository. And your doctor, if you have a holistic doctor, about doing something like that. So it could be used that way. I like it for travel, like Nepal or Mexico, where, you know, Blastocystis hominis is endemic, Giardia, other bacteria. I have them and take the GI detox in between to mop up things. That seems to work really well. I know you like to use the capsules, Tom.
Yes. Okay. What's happening, folks, Dr. Rachel is cutting in and out. There's some reception problems. We're not sure why that's happening, but so we'll just have to piece it together as best we can. This information is too important not to continue. So when I hear Dr. Rachel freezing, and then when she comes back, I'm able to put together what she's just said. So I'm hoping you're finding that to be true also. It is a little bit of an annoyance, you know, but sometimes with technology, there's nothing you can do about that. I don't know why that's happening, but the information is just way too good, way too good. Dr. Rachel, can you talk about in the liposomal, using it after the brushing your teeth with dentalcidin, but what's the benefit of liposomal compared to the spray or the drops?
So like you said before, the liposomal tends to give you a little bit more. So when you have these bacteria that could be like intracellular, even like spirochetes and things that are, because I'm not that familiar with dentistry, but did you know that spirochetes are one of the main cause of gingivitis? Not spirochetes, dental spirochetes. And so that's a great reason to employ something like this, because we know it works on spirochetes. And you start using this, you should see, you know, an improvement pretty much right away. It's definitely good to try. The good news about any of these stuff can't hurt you. Somebody asked if there's contraindications. Pregnancy is the only contraindication, because many of the herbs in these formulas are, if you look in pregnancy, but they're fine for breastfeeding. They're fine for children, just at the right dose for children. With the liquid Biocidin, we use 1 body weight per day. So if you think about an adult would take like 15 drops a day, right? An adult might weigh 150 pounds. So about it that way, that's how you figure out, like if you have a 40-pound kid, maybe they could take 4 drops a day. Start with 1 drop twice a day and work for a 40-pound kid. That's the nice thing about this too, for working with children, is that this is going to last for children. And we send this to Nigeria, we sent this to South America, I've sent this to clinics in Nepal, where, you know, really expensive things, but because this lasts so long, then the doctors in those outreach clinics are able to use it.
That's just marvelous, marvelous. Tracy asks, what's the difference between Bioscidin and structured silver? We talked about that a little bit earlier, Tracy, and the silver is a single compound that has one mechanism of attacking. The Biocidin has multiple herbs, so it's a more comprehensive way of approaching the problem, and Biocidin seems to be more effective across a broad spectrum. Silver's great, lots of good evidence and lots of studies about silver, but my go-to for years has been Biocidin, and that's why, because it seems to be more comprehensive. Let's see.
Tom, you know what I could do? I could try changing taking off the headset and changing to just the built-in mic and see if maybe that makes a difference. Maybe this wireless headset is causing a problem.
Let's try that. Okay, that's fine. And Mira asks, if you already have
Figure out
MS,
how to get to
if you already have MS, can we use it with dismodifying agents? Yes, Mira, there's no reason why not. There's no contraindications that I'm aware of. As an antibacterial, it may be helpful. Fiona says, my mom has been coughing and has a lot of phlegm for 2 months. Antibiotics haven't helped. She has a chest x-ray and it's clear. The docs have given her nose spray. It's not helping. They can't figure it out. I told her to stop using that strong 3-minute denture cleaner that has nasty stuff in it, but she won't do it, won't even try. Ugh. It sounds like I should get this for her if she will use it. Well, Fiona, hold on a minute. Marzi was wanting to. If your mother's chest is clear and the antibiotics haven't worked, it sounds like it may be something that's continually irritating her. So your suspicion may be accurate about this denture cleaner that she's using. That may be accurate, and I don't know why not try the Biocidin. Dr. Rachel, have you had any experience with denture cleaning with Biocidin?
No, but I did find out from the person who recommended this probiotic rinse to me that you could put the probiotic rinse in some water and put the dentures in it at night, and that it would help clean them.
Ah,
So I think you could take the Biocidin toothpaste and you could brush your dentures. And if you wanted to, you could then rinse with the liposomal just to clean them up. And then you could put the probiotic on just like your teeth, I guess.
Sure.
Why not?
Can't hurt, and may make a difference, may make a big difference. Oh, let's see. Lena's in Canada, Homa's in California, Judy's Wisconsin. Bob says, can you use Biocidin in conjunction with spore probiotics to help with small intestinal bacterial overgrowth?
Right, and that's what we recommend. So I had mentioned that before with SIBO, the spores are better.
Right.
We use Biocidin along with the Olivirex because in SIBO you have methane-producing bacteria, and methane-producing bacteria seem to respond very well to olive leaf extract. So by combining the Biocidin and the Olivirex, along with the GI toxin Proflora, that suite seems to work nicely in supporting people with SIBO.
Chan asks, would Biocidin address tinnitus?
Well, it would depend on the cause of the tinnitus.
Right.
That would be very hard to say.
Right, but if he was going to try, would they put a drop in the ears?
You know, if you don't have a perforated eardrum, I think it's safe to put a drop in the ear. In Chinese medicine, tinnitus could be related to the kidney channel and adrenals. So you might want to have a doctor check your cortisol levels, do a 24-hour saliva cortisol, see how you're doing on that score.
Right, agreed. Okay, let's see. Bob says, what product is she talking about? My Wi-Fi cut out. I think she was answering my question. Thanks, Bob. I don't remember what your question was, so what we were answering.
See if we can find Bob's question in the feed here.
Yes. Tracy asked, what about the quercetin in breastfeeding?
I haven't had any issues with it, but when you're breastfeeding, I think it's a good idea to use half the normal amounts when you start out and watch the baby's reaction.
Agreed.
I like that one here by Amahi, said that they used liposomal Biocidin and the dental protocol for a client with E. coli, and she retested as clear. And she wanted to know if it would be wise for her to follow up with the Biocidin for another couple of months. I think yes. I think once you've reached clear, good to follow up at a maintenance for a bit longer. Make sure everything doesn't come back.
Right, agreed. Fully agreed. This is the one product, these Biocidin products are the one suite of products I've used, as I said, for 30 years, folks, and without exception. I've had a couple of people have a sensitivity reaction. I think I can name 2 in 30 years. And this is the go-to product I recommend more than anything else is these Biocidin products. So anyone can be sensitive to anything. That's certainly possible, but it's extremely rare. But these are very safe products to work with.
All right, I'm trying the internal microphone. Is that any better?
Well, we still can hear you clear, and let's see if you stay without fading out.
This is supposed to be the best Plantronic microphone headset that they make.
There's always something.
Anyway, built-in mic. It's always something.
There's always something.
So somebody asked here about using Biocidin in chronic Lyme disease. And yes, a lot of people use the Biocidin LSF, the liposomal formula in Lyme. And yes, of course, there's going to be a Herx reaction anytime you're killing things off. But again, start extremely slowly. Like with Lyme, I even recommend don't even take 1 pump of this. Put 1 pump of this in 5 ounces of water and take 1 teaspoon of the water and see how you do. And then have the GI detox on hand, ready to back up. If you start going down, just take it right then and there. Don't even wait an hour, just take it right then. I'll tell you a great story about that, Tom. I'm at a conference and this guy comes up and he's been living in Africa. He was like a journalist or something for like 15 years and he looked terrible. I mean, he was like so thin, he was really weak. And he said he thought he had all these different parasites and things. And so I was going to let him taste the Biocidin. So I reached across the table with the dropper like this, and I was going to give him 1 drop. Somebody saw me doing that and thought that they'd be helpful, snatched the dropper out of my hand and squirted the whole thing in his mouth. And I'm like, oh, this will be interesting. So I thought, well, you never know. Maybe he won't react that badly, but I'm just going to watch him for a few seconds and see. I'm like, how you doing? He's like, you know, I'm like, come over here and sit down. So I put him in the chair behind the table. I'm like, I want you to take 2 of these GI detox right now. Here's some water. Within 5 minutes, he was fine. You know, so if you do start to get a big die-off reaction, please just hit this immediately. Don't even wait.
Yeah. By the way, by the way, you are not breaking up now. So it was the headset that was doing that.
Stupid thing. I'm not. You buy a $300 headset, you think it's going to work, right?
I know. Oh, let's see. Helen says, thank you. CG says, thank you. Claudine says, Dentalcidin lasts a while. Mary says, can you, Dentalcidin the dogs, you've already answered that. Mia says, does the Biocidin help treat gum disease? We've answered that one. Let's see, let's just keep scrolling down. There are so many comments.
I like this one, the one that's from Emily. Hello, Dr. Rachel. I think you look like the Mona Lisa. Thank you. It's lovely to get praise.
That is, and that's one of the most well-known faces in the history of humanity, right? In the last 300 years, right? Brings more.
People tell me I have like Meryl Streep's eyebrows. I'm not sure.
Let's see. How far away from the spores do you take the Biocidin?
You can actually take them at the same time. There's no problem with Biocidin and spores.
Is the Dentalcidin toothpaste corn, gluten, and lactose free?
Of course. All of our products are free of common allergens.
Good.
No sugar, no artificial things, no excipients, no fillers, no silicon dioxide, no magnesium stearate, obviously no gluten. Nothing is tested on animals. You know, I have my 2 dogs here at the office with me always. And one day a dog was barking and somebody said, I was talking to, she's like, do you do animal testing? Yeah, right here at my desk. No, we won't do any animal testing. In fact, we support a lot of, Humane Society and things like that here. We also support an organization called Seva Foundation, which was started by Ram Dass, and that foundation provides eyesight surgeries to people in areas around the world that don't have access to eye care, and our company has restored sight to 1,000 people.
That's really marvelous, Rachel. That's really marvelous. I've been a supporter of Seva for 20 years, 25, 30 years, something like that. Yes.
And Ram Dass himself uses Biocidin.
And for those of you who don't know Ram Dass, he's somewhere between Krishna Das, the famous singer, and Haagen-Dazs, the ice cream. So,
That's right. Yeah.
He was a spirit and is a spiritual teacher from the 1970s, and he guided hundreds of thousands of us back then in thinking about a bigger picture and how to stay connected to spirit.
And he was a Harvard professor as
yes,
well.
He was. Yes,
he's one of those teachers like Eckhart Tolle and others that are really trying to help people be present.
Yes.
And I think that as we drop into presence, we can also like feel what's going on in our own bodies. You know, like if you just stand at the produce aisle at the grocery store, hopefully the organic section, and you just like be present with yourself and get out of your head. A lot of times your body will even tell you like what it wants, you know, what nutrients it's asking for. I think we should rely more on our inner knowing. And to do that, we have to quiet our minds and just kind of be here a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Amazon has a movie of Ram Dass's that I really like this little movie. It's called Fierce Grace. And after Ram Dass had a stroke and immobilized most of one side of his body, how do you stay like spiritually connected when you're in a wheelchair? And he talked about that quite a bit. It's really an impactful movie, Fierce Grace. I think it's like $10 on Amazon or something. It's well worth spending an evening watching that one. It's
Thank you.
Mia says, I followed Dr. Tom when I discovered his Betrayal docuseries 15 months into a totally different lifestyle now. No more systemic and no more symptoms as long as I stick to the protocol. It's life-changing. Well, that's great, Mia. And I want to right here and now give a big shout out and thank you to Dr. Rachel, who has been one of the sponsors of, we just relaunched Betrayal 2 weeks ago, and another 140,000 people watched it. And Dr. Rachel was one of our sponsors with Biobotanicals. So thank you so much for that, Rachel. It's very kind of you.
I'm always happy to collaborate, Tom.
Yes, yes. Well, you know, we're all doing what we can in this world. And these products, folks, are like none other in my armamentarium. I've been using them, as I said, for 30 years and recommend all of you try them. Marzi's put the links in here today. Give it a shot, see what you think. I think you'll be really happy you did. And it's now 2 a.m. here in Italy. We've been at this for an hour and it's time to go. So Dr. Rachel, any last comments that you'd like to make?
I would say to people, if they want to try these things, just err on the side of caution, because you don't know if you're loaded up with pathogens and you start having a big die-off, you could feel uncomfortable. So always start really small. More is not better. Slow and steady wins the race. If it takes you 2 to 3 months of using these things to get a great result, fine. You've been sick for 20 years. What's 2 to 3 months? You know, change your diet, obviously, to a healthy diet. You know, try to reduce your stress through being in nature or doing yoga or singing or whatever it is that will get you, you know, to a place of joy. Because I think when we're in a place of joy, then we really can help heal ourselves better. And also it's a lot nicer for others around us. So I sing every day. I do yoga every day. I play the drums. I have a drum set at home. So, you know, I'll jam out, you know, and those are the things that make me happy, playing with my horses and dogs, you know.
Very nice. Very nice. Nice words of wisdom. Words of wisdom after coming down the path for a few years. That's really great. Thank you for that. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Yes, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
See you next time.